דבר כפרה עליך,
דבר כפרה עליך, אלקנה בוחבוט!
רק לא בקדימה של הרב.
מה אלקנה? דבר. דבר כפרה עליך, דבר!
הנה גם ג'ולי קופרשטיין קיבלה שיחה מדעת
So viewers, as you can see on your screens now, Donald Trump has arrived in Israel, and this comes amid the historic handover of hostages. So Hamas has handed over at least 7 Israeli hostages, and we've seen several visuals that have been coming in as well of the homecoming, where several people gathered around in the square as well for the homecoming of the people that were held hostage by Hamas. And now the world leaders are gathering in Israel as well, and this is set to take place in terms of the Gaza ceasefire deal and the summit that is set to take place. We have seen on our screens that that's Donald Trump as well as Netanyahu greeted him as well. And when we're talking about this, especially in terms of Israel-Hamas Gaza ceasefire as well, this comes amid 7 Israeli hostages were handed over to the Red Cross, and this took place on Monday morning, and marking the first wave of releases under a new Gaza ceasefire agreement, which was between Israel and Hamas, and they'll be returning home after 2 years of deadly war. When we're talking about the several names that have been released of the hostages, it includes Eaton Moore, Gali, Ziv Berman, Matan Angrist, Omri Miran, Guy Gilboy Dalal, and Elon Ehel were the first ones to be handed over. And as part of the agreement, 20 living Israeli hostages are set to be released in exchange for more than 1,900 Palestinian prisoners held in Israel. And with the release of first 7, now 13 more Israeli hostages are set to return in this first phase. Though details about the hostages' conditions were not immediately available, and news of their release was obviously met with cheers and applause. We have seen earlier visuals of the crowd that was gathered in several cities as well and towns and around the country. They were watching the live broadcast of the events in Tel Aviv as well. Large public screenings drew thousands of people, many waving flags and holding signs with the names and faces of those still held in Gaza. On the other hand, we're seeing live visuals that are coming in of Donald Trump, who has arrived in Israel. He was welcomed by Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu, and we have also seen several other world leaders that are also set to arrive in Israel as well. We have seen earlier Netanyahu penned a very emotional letter as well. Emotional letter as well in terms of the return of these hostages as well. Currently, the hostage release is still underway. Israel is set yet to release the hostages that are held in its custody. But on the other hand, when we're talking about Netanyahu, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah have prepared handwritten notes as well and goodies for the returning hostages. And the note read, "On behalf of all the people of Israel, welcome back. We waited for you," and hugging you. So those are the live visuals that you can see of the preparations that are being held ahead of the Gaza summit that is set to take place, which will include several key leaders that are coming in. And in those visuals on your screens, Donald Trump has been welcomed by Benjamin Netanyahu as well. This is an emotional homecoming, and this comes after 2 years of deadly war. We have seen the 7 hostages have been released by Hamas, and also we have seen several visuals that were coming in of crowds that were gathered in cities and towns around the country, and they were watching live broadcast about the event as well. In Tel Aviv, we saw large public screenings drew thousands of people, many waving flags and holding signs with the names and faces of those still held in Gaza. Now the live visuals you can see are just zoomed in on Donald Trump inside his car and in his convoy, and these visuals have obviously play a very important note in terms of the fact that these visuals are really important in terms of Tel Aviv when we're talking about people that have gathered over there. They have been handed over. The 7 Israeli captives have been handed over by Hamas. We've seen Trump has claimed that the war is over. And obviously this comes amid the 4th day of this fragile ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. Obviously now we can see the convoy is going over to the summit, and it's shifting towards to this summit as well now. And now I'll toss over to my colleague and my senior news editor, Shivani, who will take you to the further details that are coming in.
Absolutely, Ria. Our viewers can in fact see that Donald Trump is on the move in Israel. He's landed over there in Tel Aviv. The live visuals over here coming in from the ground, even as 7 Israeli hostages were handed over to the Red Cross on Monday morning. This has marked the first wave of releases under a new Gaza ceasefire agreement between Israel and Hamas. They will be returning home after 2 years of deadly war. Eaton Moore, Gali and Zib Berman, Matan Angrist, Omri Miran, Guy Gilboa Dalal and Alon Ehel were the first ones to be handed over here to the Red Cross. As part of the agreement, 20 living Israeli hostages are to be released in exchange for more than 1,900 Palestinian prisoners held in Israel. With the release of the first 7, now 13 more Israeli hostages are set to return in the first phase. And we can see live visuals over there from Tel Aviv, where President Trump is on the move. He has landed in Israel, and he will in fact be addressing the nation after this historic day where we are seeing that 7 hostages have finally been released after 2 years of deadly war. This first phase, though details about the hostages' conditions were not immediately available, of course news of their release was met with cheers and applause. Crowds had gathered in cities and towns around the country watching live broadcasts of the events. In Tel Aviv, large public screenings drew thousands of people, many in fact waving flags and holding signs with the names and faces of those still in Gaza. Joining me on the broadcast is Robindra Sachdev, Foreign Affairs expert. Mr. Sachdev, we have live visuals right now coming in from Tel Aviv. Apart from the positive step that's happening, we have seen the first batch of hostages being released, and now we see President Trump landing in Tel Aviv. He is going to hold a round of talks with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and also address the nation. How do you see this, Mr. Sachdev? All right, we will try to establish our connection with Mr. Sachdev again. However, joining me on the panel is also Professor Madhav Nalapat. He's the editorial director of the Sunday Guardian. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Nalapat. We appreciate your time. Some really historic visuals right now coming in from Tel Aviv. We first saw the release of the first batch of 7 hostages who were handed over to the Red Cross, and now we are seeing President Trump on the move in Tel Aviv. He's on the ground. He's going to meet Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, I think it's very welcome that hostage exchange has taken place, and if Hamas had done this much earlier, it could have spared a lot of grief to the people of Gaza. And now it's estimated only 20 hostages who are alive, and the rest have all been killed off. So it's a very, very sad tragedy. And what has happened, Hamas has also tragedy. Thousands and thousands of people have lost their lives. Destruction has been absolutely immense. If Hamas had done this some time ago, then I can tell you that first of all, it should not have perpetrated the terror attack. After having done so, they will release the hostages very quickly. Then I think Gaza would have been spared. Absolute hell that will be witnessing under Israeli bombardment. Thank you.
Professor Nalapat, I would also like to understand your opinion on this entire crisis that's unfolding over here. Do you think there are credible options of governance for Palestine going forward, for the non-Hamas governance in Gaza? Do you think it's credible?
Look, the fact is it is essential. You can't have Hamas ruling Gaza. Hamas leaders have got to seek asylum, and the Palestinian authorities will take over Gaza. There is no way that Israel is going to tolerate Hamas continuing in Gaza as authority power. No way at all. So it's absolutely imperative that Hamas make way, and it has done enough to cause so much of destruction. There's no question of accepting a Hamas to Gaza. Gaza has got to be integrated back into the West Bank under the Palestinian Authority, which recognizes the state of Israel, which, by the way, Hamas does not. Hamas does not recognize the right of Jews to live, much as the state of Israel. So it's absolutely imperative that Hamas understand this and the Palestinian Authority take over authority in Gaza.
Absolutely. Professor Nalapat, I would also like to understand that, do you think Israel will have a role in the governance going forward, or do you think they have suffered enough, they've had this war, now going forward they just want that Gaza, a non-party governance in Gaza, and they will in fact just oversee the governance over there?
Well, look, the fact is that Gaza was completely out of the radar of the Israelis. That's why October 7 happened. And there's no question the Israelis are going to have boots on the ground, eyes in the sky, and various means of ensuring that terrorists are not once more active in Gaza. Gaza should not be allowed to become once more a terrorist hub. Otherwise, I think the state of Israel will be in danger, as well as other countries in the world and the region. So there's no question that Israel will be ensuring its own security by ensuring that the terror groups do not come again, do not proliferate. I think it's very important that Israel do that, and Israel can be certain to insist on that. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Nalapat, for joining us and providing us your valuable insights. Joining me also on the broadcast is Major General Sudhakar Ji. He's a defense and geopolitical expert. Major General, how do you see this panning out now that Trump is in Israel? We also are going to see him moving to Egypt for the further action on the Gaza peace plan. We are seeing the first positive development. The hostages have been released. But what next? Do you think this is realistic, the entire Gaza peace plan?
Shivani, good afternoon. Thank you for getting me on phone up for your show. Firstly, compliments. This is a landmark achievement as far as the global history is concerned. But let me inject some degree of caution into it, because this is a subject which has been hammered threadbare right since 1947-48. There have been many such initiatives in the past, but they have all actually got subverted in between. They've got hijacked for some reason or the other. So therefore, to celebrate prematurely will not be appropriate. I would say that while we remain hopeful and optimistic about the ultimate outcome, I would only urge people who matter to actually focus on the ultimate long-term perspective. While it is good, it is very good that some breakthrough has been made, and Donald Trump deserves to be given kudos and complimented, but we should remain absolutely wary of any issue which may trigger a kind of hijacking of the entire approach. One. Second, what next? You asked a very relevant and important question. What is after the hostage exchange? You see, this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is only the beginning. What after this is that the Israelis, I am told, they have already fallen back to the yellow line, and the IDF I am talking of. Now the main issue is going to be disarmament of the Hamas. Will Hamas ever be ready, be prepared to disarm themselves is the moot question. And if they do not disarm, that becomes a stumbling block in the entire roadmap of 20-point program. And if they don't disarm, that may perhaps potentially would become a trigger for Israelis to break their ceasefire and resume bombardment of Gaza. You see, these are all, pitfalls which the 20-point proposal is fraught with. Therefore, we need to keep our fingers crossed. It's a big, major milestone in the world order today. If we can have some degree of ceasefire, some stoppage of ongoing conflict, that itself is a big reprieve. And I would compliment Donald Trump entirely for his strategic patience and his perseverance. He has been at it, and this man deserves to be given compliments if we reach some degree of, if not 100%, at least some degree of peace and harmony in the Middle East. Back to you, Shivan.
Absolutely. Major General Sudhakarji, I'll request you to stay on with us. I want to welcome another panelist on this discussion, Pathikrit Pain. He's a foreign affairs expert. Mr. Pathikrit Pain, I would like to understand, how do you see this entire development actually unfolding? We have geopolitical observers who believe that Hamas will never give in to disarmament. They will never agree to that point that has been mentioned in the Gaza peace plan of disarming themselves. Do you think then Israel will have to change its goal and change it to containment of Hamas rather than complete obliteration of Hamas?
Good afternoon. It's Pathikrit Pain.
Yes.
Secondly, I think that yes, there is some sense of optimism because the war has been going on for 2 years. So for a small country like Israel with a very limited population, sustaining a conflict is not easy. And there was a very high level of fatigue within Israel, especially among those families who have had their family members kept as hostage for almost 2 years now. And I think many of them have already died while being in hostage. See, the war was having its impact on the Israeli economy as well. Gaza is totally devastated, obliterated. But to presume that from here onwards, the road is towards path to prosperity, I think that will be delusional. Hamas will never give up weapons. And if they do, then it will be a miracle, as the only terror organization in the history of terrorism, having given up weapons. Secondly, where does Gaza stand today? There is no sense of redemption. It is a devastated, destroyed place. Yes, foreign companies will come to reconstruct, but God forbid, initiation of the conflict is only one terror attack away. Secondly, Hamas and its own agenda, it's far from complete. So there is no question of they giving up their animosity towards Israel, and that has only gone up in the last 2 years. So whatever truths you see right now, first and foremost, I'm sorry to say, but it's all temporary. To a certain extent, it's hogwash, because right now the entire focus will be steered towards Iran, and both United States and Israel also tacitly backed by so many Arab states who have some kind of antipathy towards the Iranian regime because of sectarian issues. I think the whole new set of conflict is only going to get started. So for many major players in the Middle East and United States, I think Gaza was more of an irritation that had to be sorted out before the bigger challenge is to be dealt with. So I think you would see in the next few weeks a major operation starting in Iran. I will not be surprised rather if it happens. And so that will again cave in the whole situation. You already have a war in Yemen going on against the Houthis, for which Pakistan has sent 30,000 soldiers of their own, even though it can't even deal with Pakistan on its own. So I think to presume that today's, bonhomie and Trump taking credit for doing something magnificent, well, that's a lot to do with PR, no doubt. Some role has been played by Trump in ensuring that Hamas sees some logic in giving up the hostages. But the animosity, if at all there is, has only gone up manifold, and it's not going to go down anytime soon. Back to you.
Absolutely. But, we heard the US president actually saying earlier in the morning that the war in Gaza is over. Now we only need to chalk out the governance plan, and that's what all the world leaders are actually meeting up in Egypt to discuss. As per your understanding, do you think the war really is over? Because you've been mentioning that there might be some strike and this is just a hogwash.
So President Trump also claimed that he was the one responsible for truce between India and Pakistan. So if we have to believe him, then it's a great day today. But I think we all know how much he overestimates his own capacities and how much he oversells. He was the one who even claimed that Russia-Ukraine war is over. So we know the reality of Russia-Ukraine war, where it stands today. And I would not be surprised if tomorrow morning first news comes that Israel has again done some airstrikes within Gaza. So there is no question of situation becoming normal. There can be a sense of normalcy in terms of massive military operations being withdrawn right now by Israel, because the Israeli government itself is under severe pressure. There is a toll that war takes on a country. And so you would see, ground level operations getting contained. But I don't think air operations are going to stop. And if at all, the air operations eventually in a matter of time will be directed, as I stated, towards Iran. Trump is more interested in the real estate of Gaza. He wants to set up Trump towers, resorts, casinos. So you would see what happens from here onwards. If it leads to great prosperity for people of Gaza and Israelis and people of Gaza living happily ever after, well, nothing like that. But I think we have seen these delusional hogwash many times. And at least for someone like me, I am not going to buy it so soon. Back to you.
All right. Thank